Christian nationalists want to turn America into a theocracy, a government under biblical rule. If things go their way this election, it could mean more power for them and fewer rights for you. I'm Heath Drusen, and on the new season of Extremely American, I'll take you inside the movement that seeks to rebuild the country in God's image. Listen to Extremely American from Boise State Public Radio, part of the NPR network.
More Idaho Matters now from the studios of Boise State Public Radio News. I'm Gemma Gaudette. Preserving the history of Idaho is not easy or cheap, and finding the money to preserve historic objects or materials can always be a challenge. So that's why Canyon County takes a tiny part of its budget and spends it on grants for historic preservation projects. Now, Canyon County is the only county in Idaho that does this. So every year, the Canyon County Historic Preservation Commission awards funds for things like preserving maps at the Caldwell Library and helping to protect the American Legion post in Nampa. The commission is holding a workshop in February for anyone who's interested in applying for a grant. And Chelsea Boehm, Historic Preservation Officer, and Nikki Schwind, Director of Canyon County Parks, Cultural and Natural Resources, are joining us today to talk more about this. I want to welcome both of you to the program.
Thank you for having us.
So, Chelsea, let me start with you. Tell us about the commission and what exactly it does.
Yeah, the commission is a group of 7 members who are appointed by the the Board of County Commissioners, and they include folks like historians, lawyers, architects, archaeologists. And what they do is we get together every month and we talk about mitigation projects, so projects that are going on that affect historic resources. We talk about grants, and ultimately that group decides what grants to recommend to the Board of County Commissioners, who makes the decisions on what applications to fund.
So as you mentioned, the commission has an advisory board, and you've had everyone from architects to anthropologists to archaeologists on the board. So with those meetings happening every month, Chelsea, what role does the board really play? I mean, are they the ones deciding on who gets this grant money?
Ultimately, the Board of County Commissioners makes the final decision, but the commission itself reviews all of the applications as well as helping the applicants to make their application as strong as possible. The board will make suggestions, and those suggestions go on to the Board of County Commissioners. But the commission really helps to provide their expertise to, like I said, to strengthen those applications as well as to help find folks in the county who need the funding and to point them in the right direction, to come to us. Mm-hmm.
So, Nikki, how is your organization impacted by this grant money and by having this commission?
Well, it's really unique to end up becoming a certified local government, which this commission is, and essentially it's the way for local entities, local governments to have a more hands-on approach in historic preservation. And you get that certification by meeting these requirements of having an advisory board made up of certain experts who then give recommendation based on that expertise to the government officials who make those decisions. So I believe there's only about 35 in Idaho, and there's more communities and counties that could be certified local government. So it's nice that Canyon County is determined to continue having that CLG presence. For us, that just means we get to bolster the historic preservation in the county. The other benefit is that we can actually receive grants from the State Historic Preservation Office. And this whole program is ultimately there because of the National Historic Preservation Act through the National Park Service. So it's multi-layered. And so by us taking advantage of operating this grant system in a unique way, we're not only using taxpayer dollars to give out grants to qualified organizations and qualified projects, but we are then taking the money that qualifies from dispersing those grants, and we are able to actually use that as match towards receiving grants from the State Historic Preservation Office through the National Park Service. So in a way, we're able to take taxpayer money towards historic preservation and sometimes double the effort that it's doing by grants that we're receiving and grants we're dispersing. So it's really quite unique. And in Canyon County, it works because there are more than just one historic preservation entity really trying to do something. A lot of counties, there's only one entity taking the lead, and the commissioners recognized years ago that there's too many entities to just give it to one. And so they set up this grant dispersal program.
About how much money does the commission get from the Canyon County budget every year?
So that's a tricky question. So the state statute says that you can collect up to 1/12,000% to do these. That could be much more. If we taxed for all of that, that could be much more than what we do every year. However, budgets operate based off of a plan. So each year, so this grant workshop that we're about to do will set up the discussions for how much is taxed for the next fiscal year. So we're never taxing more than what is planned here. So if the county decides this year to disperse $80,000 in projects, that's what will be taxed for that fiscal year. So it's not we're going to tax and then figure it out. It's here's the plan, and then we'll tax accordingly.
So you mentioned this workshop that's coming up. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Gemma, it also depends on how many applications we receive and what each group is asking for. This for fiscal year 2025, which started in October, we had $140,000 in grant requests and ultimately funded $76,000. And it's just, again, depending on what's available, what's budgeted, but it varies depending on, again, how many requests we get.
So I have about 2 minutes left with you. And you talked about this workshop that's coming up in February, and it's for folks who want to apply for these grants from the commission. So when and how can folks apply? And I guess when is the workshop for interested folks as well?
So the workshop is Tuesday, February 11th at 6:30 at the Canyon County Administrative Building. And specifically, only organizations in Canyon County can apply, and they have to be a historical society or a museum. It has to support historical restoration projects in the county or marking and development of historic sites in the county. And the application will be available the day after our workshop, and it is due the end of April.
So it sounds like it's important for, yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, the only other qualification is that they have to be a nonprofit or 501c3. And if they don't have that status, we have a few ways that we can try and help them get connected with that.
So with that said, it is important for folks who are interested in getting this grant money to really go to this workshop to fully understand how it works and get some help on applying for these grants.
Absolutely. And we're always around to answer questions both at the workshop and anytime. And we want to give out the money. So we want to support folks in whatever way we can.
Well, I want to thank both of you so much for taking time to talk to us about this. I did not know this existed, and I have lived here a very long time, so I appreciate the education. We've been talking with Chelsea Boehm, Historic Preservation Officer, and Nikki Schwen, Director of Canyon County Parks, Cultural and Natural Resources, about the Canyon County Historic Preservation Grant Program. We will put a link to their workshop on our website, boisestatepublicradio.org. This is the Idaho Matters podcast. I'm Gemma Gaudette.
If you like podcasts like this, explore more from the Boise State Public Radio podcast family. There you'll find a mix of daily news, Idaho voices, and in-depth series on a wide range of topics. I'm talking wild horses, political scandals, sustainable ranching, and militia groups in a post-January 6th world. Wherever you get your podcasts, just search Boise State Public Radio to find what Idaho's NPR station has in store for you.